Hey everyone, this is Gnogart. So, Legacy of Destruction is out, and one of the decks I'm excited for is Memento, because Memento can make Guardian Chimera, and I just love Guardian Chimera. But it also has some cool artwork, cool mechanics, popping itself, and actually some cool lines that I wanted to demonstrate. So today I wanted to bring you a deck profile for Memento, but also standard combos and some lines against nibs. So let me know if you want to see some more combos for other hand traps, but for now, let's just dive into the deck. Okay, starting off with the deck profile, we'll hop right into the main deck here. It's 40 cards, clean. I was thinking 41, but I think like we want to see our starters, which are the Angwitch 3-time, Darkblade 3-time, main starters, 1-card combo. You obviously have more ways to get started, so it's not just draw these 6 out of 40, but these are the best cards you can draw. Another card we max out on is Tatsuno Toshigo, which can also combo, but not as well as these two. And the more important part here is that it is the only extender really in the archetype, only extender monster. So this can just special summon itself, so you want to max it out, play around stuff like Imperm better. Now, it's for the 3 of monsters. Now, we have some 1-offs. We run 1 mace, 1 goblin, 1 Gaddick, 1 dragon, and 1 combined creation. Now I was thinking bumping up the goblin to 2 at least, because it can also be a 1-card starter, even though it's not as good as the good starters obviously. But if you want to improve the consistency a bit, you can bump this up. Plus in some combos it helps having this in the deck to get it out later, because you have 1 in the grave and 1 in the deck. But for now, I'm just going to go with the minimal package. Next up, we have the new Memento Infusion and 3 Bone Party. These quick spells are so good. This is a disruption, this is extension, this can be a play starter, and the Bone Party also can be extension, disruption, and a play starter. Disruption, not as much as this, because you will special summon a Memento and that'll be like a pop spell trap, but you can also pop the dragon with it and then the dragon pops, so it kind of can be a disruption. But most of the time these cards are meant to be extension. They're just really slow. Then we got some 1-offs. We have the Field Spell and the Cranium Burst. No need for the other trap, because now that we got the fusion, if we have extra resources to get another card, we just get another fusion, so we can make Guardian Chimera in our opponent's turn. And Memento Fusion is just so much better going second, so we don't need the trap here. That's it for the Memento core, and then we have some extra consistency with 1 Rhoda and 3 Prosp. Rhoda gets you Darkblade obviously, and Prosp can get you anything from 1-card combo to extension to just whatever you need, really, just a hand trap to top it all off. And we have the extra deck space, you can just banish stuff. Then for the hand traps, we have 3 Ash, 3 Imperm, 3 Nib, and 2 Valor. You've seen this before. I just went safe with the non-engine for now, because we're in a new format, we don't know what to expect really, and these have been proven to be good, so we just play them. And for the last 3 slots of the non-engine, I play Super Poly, because we have extra deck space, so we can run some targets for Super Poly, and it's a really decent card. Now, going to the extra deck. Starting off with the most important card, Guardian Chimera, draw 2, pop 1, or draw 1, pop 2. Then we have the Twin Dragon, 2 of them. You can get away with 1 because you shuffle it back, but against some disruption or like banishing it with like a Bestial because it's a light, I thought having 2 is better, especially we have the space, so why not? Then for the other fusions, we have Super Poly targets, Mud Dragon, Garura, and Earth Golem at Ignister. You can play whatever you need here, obviously, like instead of the Ignister, or cut something else. Worth noting is you can actually make the Mud Dragon with Memento Fusion. I don't know when that would happen, but maybe you're in a matchup where targeting protection is just so good that you skip on the Twin Dragon and get a Mud Dragon instead, because the rest of your hand does something else. Alright, that's it for the fusions. Next up, links. We have IP and SP. Now, obviously, big price tag on SP, but in this case, I actually cannot recommend a replacement for SP, because your main way of playing through Nib is having the SP on board, and then you summon the creation, and then if they nib you, you can just dodge them. This is why also in my normal combo, I usually end on SP instead of IP, unless they actually do nib me. If they do nib me, then I can extend through that, then I make the IP because I don't have to fear the nib anymore, obviously. But IP definitely cuttable, SP not so much, unless someone comes up with other combos. Then we have some Nightmares, Phoenix and Unicorn, just some removal. You can play whatever you want here. We have Access Code, just helps with OTKs, clearing the board, attacking. And this plus creation is over 10,000 damage. So then we have one dark, because most of your main deck is dark. And we also have the Selene, which you can make with the dark. And with that Selene, because Angwitch is a spellcaster, you can sometimes go into Appaloosa. These are also optional, so if you want more super poly targets or anything else, you can cut them, but I like them so much. Although I have to say that the more I've been playing this deck and the better I got with the combo lines, the less I had to go into this line, because I didn't need the extra negate here, because I just played through stuff better. And then for the last card, Typhon, we have the space, and this card is just so good. So that's it for the deck profiles. Now let's show some combos. Okay, let's hop into the one card combo. In this case, it would be Darkblade. This will assume we have Darkblade and 4 non-engine, because if we have any Memento monster in our hand, or Bone Party or Fusion even, we can go different lines to actually play around Nib a bit more, but in this case it's just straight up one card combo. If they have Nib, we just trade the Darkblade with the Nib. Alright, so you normal summon the Darkblade, that's summon number 1, activate the effect to pop it, and special Angwitch. Angwitch on summon gets you Tatsu. You can special Tatsu and then use the effect, pop itself, and mill Mace, Goblin, and Gaddock. You can then use Gaddock effect, special summon itself back, and then don't use the effect here because nothing in our grave is actually of value. For now, we can go back to the Gaddock effect later. Now, this will be 4 summons, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then use the Angwitch effect, pop it, and get the Mace. So from now on, your opponent can nib you, and if they nib you on the activation of Mace, which would be the ideal spot, then you'll be left with nothing. But let's just assume no Nibiru, and you activate Mace, pop itself, get Memento Fusion. You activate the Fusion, and you shuffle back Mace and either Darkblade or Tatsu. Keep the Gaddock and the Goblin in grave. That's important. So you'll shuffle back these 2 to get your Twin Dragon out. Now, Twin Dragon on summon pops itself and adds you the Trihorn Dragon and the combined creation. And then because it got popped, it'll revive the Goblin. Now, next up, you can use the Memento Fusion to pop the Angwitch and get your Field Spell. Activate the Field Spell, and then summon the Trihorn Dragon. Then you use Goblin to pop the Trihorn Dragon, and mill another Fusion and the Cranium Burst. This will trigger the Field Spell because we have popped our Trihorn Dragon, so we can revive the Gaddock, and now we can use the Gaddock effect to add something back, in this case the Cranium Burst. Now, we can link these 2 off for SP Little Knight. The reason I go for SP Little Knight is the following, because if the opponent decided to keep Nib until now, you use the effect of Combined Creation, shuffle back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's important to leave the Angwitch in the grave here. So shuffle these back, summon it, and if your opponent wants to say, okay, end of main Nib, you can just dodge here. But if you want, you can just go for an IP, which makes for a slightly better endboard. So we'll summon the command creation in attack position optimally. We'll see why later. You set the trap, go to the end phase, and then your field spell will set you your fusion. So what we have now is we have the SP Little Knight. For the banish, we have combined creation backed up with the Cranium Burst. Now Cranium Burst says that every monster opponent has, if they can, have to attack the combined creation, which protects your SP Little Knight, and if they leave anything in attack, they have to go battle phase and attack it. That's why you have it in attack position, so they actually have to crash their monsters if they do. And it also makes your combined creation into an Appaloosa, basically, by reducing its attack by 1000. You can negate a monster effect on the field, so not exactly Appaloosa, but close. Then, if your opponent activates any effect, you can then use the combined creation, get back the Angwitch, and Angwitch on summon adds you your mace, which you can then use to take control of your opponent's monster. And lastly, you have one Memento Infusion, which you can use the card that you just stole from your opponent, plus Angwitch, plus any monster in your hand, to make Guardian Chimera and pop 2 more cards. So that's it for the 1-card Darkblade line. Let's go for the Angwitch. Alright, so the Angwitch combo, similar to the Darkblade combo, but we cannot go the same route because in the end we'll lack one body to get the creation out and have the Angwitch still engrave. So we cannot go for the same combo, but on the other hand, this combo plays around Nib way better, and I'll show you how. So you go normal summon Angwitch, that's summon number 1. Add Tatsu, summon Tatsu, summon number 2. Pop it, and you put to the grave another Angwitch and the 2 level 1s. You just take a second Angwitch because the level matches up well, and you want to keep the Gaddick in the grave and the deck in this case. So mill these 3, and then you can use the Angwitch effect, pop itself, get back mace, mace effect, pop itself, add fusion, activate fusion, put back mace, and the second witch, because we want to have different names in the deck. So if you use these 2, go into Twin Dragon. Now that is summon number 4, and it's very important that your opponent cannot nib you on the effect of Twin Dragon in case you have only non-engine in your hand and no Memento monsters. So Twin Dragon pops itself and adds you the 2 big guys, and then in the grave Twin Dragon triggers and brings back Goblin. Now you are on summon number 5, and your opponent can nib you now, which if you activate the Goblin's effect, that would be a good timing to nib you. Let's say they do. So they nib you here, you get the token, you can't get the effect because you cannot pop it. Now you always have the Memento Fusion in your grave, so you can always just use it, pop, and get your Cranium Burst, and you have 4 names plus the 1 in hand, so you will always end up on Combined Creation plus Cranium Burst if they nib you. Now, by leaving the fusion in the grave. Now, let's say they don't nib you, you have this, they don't have nib. You can activate the Goblin, mill to here, and then the Gaddick will trigger, revive itself, add back the Cranium Burst. Again, now your opponent, if they nib you, you still have this. If they nib you here, actually, you can get the token, and then the Memento Fusion can get you a Bone Party, or you can just special summon the Dragon, and Dragon plus token makes SP. IP. SP you cannot make with non-effect monsters, but if they nib you, you want to make IP. So, if they don't nib you though, you go SP with the Gaddick and the Dragon. Again, if they nib you here, you have the token, you can pop it with a fusion. So now you go shuffle back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different names, keep the witch in grave. Summon the creation, and now they cannot nib you because you can dodge. You'll set the Cranium Burst, and now you have set up SP creation, Cranium Burst, plus the Angwitch Revive and the Steal that follows. So same thing as the combo before, just we don't have the Guardian Chimera play, but we play into Nib much better. Alright, now I talked about having a Memento monster in your hand in the combos before. So what actually happens if I open 2 Angwitch? So we have one in hand obviously that we can't summon, but we'll make use of it. So normal the Angwitch, get the Tatsu, use the effect, pop itself, and this time we actually send Darkblade and Mace, that'll equal to level 5. Use the Angwitch effect, pop itself to get the Mace here, summon number 3, use the effect, pop itself, get the fusion, use the fusion and shuffle back the Witch and the Mace. That's important, it has to be these two. So shuffle these back and you get out your Twin Dragon. Now summon number 4, so again still not nibbable, and you activate the effect and you actually pop the Angwitch in hand to get these two out. Now that leaves us with the Twin Dragon on the field still, and the nice thing about this is we have the Memento Fusion effect ready without your opponent being able to chain Nib to it. So actually we can use the fusion here, pop the Twin Dragon to add Cranium Burst. This will trigger the Twin Dragon and we get back our Darkblade. Now this is similar to the combo before, but this time we get Darkblade instead of Goblin, because we can just use the Darkblade to pop itself and special the Goblin. So now we have that extra name that we needed to get the full combo off. Then we can use the Goblin effect, pop itself, send these two. Note that again after this, every time your opponent can nib you, you already have these two in hand, so you don't need to worry about that. You send the fusion and the Gaddick. That'll summon out the Gaddick, and Gaddick on summon gets you the fusion back. Now you can special summon the Trihorn, link them off for SP Little Knight, and again go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monsters. In this case we have 7 monsters, so you can actually keep the Trihorn Dragon or the Gaddick in the grave, depending on what you want. In this case I think Gaddick is nice if you just want to add back something from the grave. Shuffle all of them back, get your combined creation, set 2, and we have a similar setup to what we had with the Darkblade, just no field spell, but we have one more monster in the grave. Let's talk about how to protect your Darkblade combo from Nib by having either Fusion or Bone Party in addition to it. Doesn't matter which one, you can get the other one either way. Let's just take the Fusion. So you go normal summon Darkblade, use the effect, special summon Angwitch, that's summon number 2. Angwitch will add Tatsu, which will special, use the effect, mill, summon number 3. You're gonna mill these 3 and you use Angwitch, pop itself, get back Mace as summon number 4, so your Mace can always search under Nibiru. Use the Mace and add back whatever you need, depending on the spell you have. So then you go Fusion and you use Mace and Angwitch, because you have 2 Angwitch in grave. Fuse these 2 off into Twin Dragon. Now use the Twin Dragon effect, and if your opponent nibs you here, you can go and chain the Bone Party, pop the Twin Dragon and add Gaddick. Now the chain will resolve, the nib cannot resolve because there are no monsters on the field, so it stays in your opponent's hand, but they are not allowed to use it anymore for this turn. This goes to the grave, and then your Twin Dragon also resolves, because you have a Memento monster in your hand, which is the Gaddick. You can pop this and add back your monsters that resolve the effect. Now, on resolution, you'll have 2 effects trigger. You have the Twin Dragon and the Gaddick. Now you go Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, Gaddick comes back, and Twin Dragon will revive your Goblin. Now you can go and banish your Memento Fusion, pop the Getaway, and add your field spell. This should all look very similar to you. It's basically the Dark Blade combo. Now you just ignore the nib basically. Activate the field spell, you go Trihorned, use the Goblin, pop the Trihorn, mill your 2 interruptions. Field spell will trigger, get you back the Getaway, and Getaway gets you back 1 of your interruptions. Link these 2 off. In this case, actually, because your opponent used nib foolishly, you go IP because you don't have to fear nib anymore. And then you will just go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can keep the Dark Blade too if you want to spell trap removal. Doesn't really matter, you have to decide depending on the matchup. But 5 monsters, go back to the deck. Specialty Creation, set the Cranium Burst, and end phase, set your Memento Fusion. And now you actually have more interruptions than you had before. You have the IP, which is an extra interruption as opposed to the normal Dark Blade combo. You have the Cranium Burst, you have the Fusion, and you will have the combined creation, getting you the Angwitch for the mace for the steel. Let's look at a similar combo, but with Angwitch instead of Dark Blade. So Angwitch and either one of these. Let's say we have Angwitch and Bone Party. So what you're gonna do is normal Angwitch, you know the drill, Tatsu, and you're gonna send Mace, Getaway, and Goblin. Now, Getaway will then summon itself back, you don't add anything back, use the Angwitch, get back the Mace, summon number 4, use the effect, add the missing card. Now, you can use Memento Fusion, Mace, and Tatsu, and we proceed as we know it. Twin Dragon effect. Now, let's say your opponent actually has gotten smarter and does not nib you here because maybe you started with a fusion and you added the Bone Party so they know you have it. Otherwise, we just proceed as in the previous combo. But in this case, let's say your opponent says, okay, they're going to keep the nib for the next choke point, which would be the Goblin. So we pop the Twin Dragon, add back what we need. Twin Dragon triggers, gets us the Goblin. Goblin effect, they chain nib, those 2 go, we get a token. Now, we cannot use the effect of Goblin anymore because it's hard once per turn. What do we do now? We can go and use Fusion, pop the token to get our Cranium Burst, and now what we do is we go the Bone Party that we still have, use the creation in our hand to special summon Blade. Now, we haven't used Blade's effect yet, so if you want, you can pop it, get another Angwitch, but let's just leave this as is. You can special summon the Dragon, link those 2 off for IP Masquerena, and then we can shuffle back 1, 2, 3, 4, and exactly 5 to get back our creation, because creation can also be summoned from the grave. That's why this interaction is so neat. So you special it, set the Cranium Burst, and now you have IP and the creation plus Cranium plus the revive of the Angwitch and the steel that follows. So still not too shabby. Okay, and that's it for the combos. So let me know in the comments if you like this kind of content, leave a thumbs up, and yeah, leave some questions for the combos, or maybe you have some improvements for the combos too. I'm eager to hear them. Just leave them in the comments, and see you next time.